You know the feeling, the day vanishes. You wake, scroll, work, eat, sleep, and suddenly it's Friday. A month passes, a year, and you wonder where it all went. But what if I told you that the ancient Stoics, nearly 2,000 years ago, solved this problem? What if there's a framework for living that makes you acutely aware of time's value and teaches you never to waste it again? Today, we're exploring one of the most forgotten truths of Stoic philosophy. Time is your only real possession. Everything else, money, status, even your body, can be taken from you. But the hours you live, those are yours alone. And once they're gone forever. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to think like the Stoics about time. This isn't about productivity hacks or becoming a workaholic. It's deeper. It's about waking up to the preciousness of each day you've been given. So stay with me. Let's begin with a man named Lucius Annaeus Seneca. He lived in Rome during the 1st century AD, served as an advisor to Emperor Nero, and was one of history's greatest philosophers. But Seneca wasn't writing from an ivory tower. He was embedded in the chaos of political power, constant distractions, and the relentless demands of Roman society. Sound familiar? His insight on time came from lived experience. Seneca observed something that shocked him. People acted as though they had an infinite supply of time. They postponed important conversations with loved ones. They delayed meaningful work. They busied themselves with trivial matters. And all the while, life was slipping away. He wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it." This isn't just criticism. It's a diagnosis of the human condition. Notice what Seneca is saying here. He's not claiming we're short-lived creatures. Insects live for days, trees for centuries. Humans have decent lifespans, relatively speaking. The problem isn't the brevity of life itself. The problem is our relationship to it. We squander days on things that don't matter. We defer what truly matters. We treat time as though it's infinite. And paradoxically, this belief makes us poorer, not richer. Here's what makes this powerful. Seneca isn't blaming bad luck or circumstance. He's pointing directly at you and me. We are the ones wasting our time. Not fate, not society, not bad timing. Us. This is where the Stoic philosophy gets uncomfortable. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. The power and the responsibility both land squarely in your hands. Seneca saw another pattern that troubled him deeply. People weren't just wasting time. They were waiting for life to begin. They told themselves, once I get that promotion, I'll be happy. Once I have enough money, I'll pursue my passion. Once my kids are older, I'll travel. Once I retire, I'll finally live. It's a beautiful trap because it feels reasonable. It sounds like planning. It disguises itself as responsibility. And Seneca, from his position in Rome's elite circles, watched this happen constantly. He saw wealthy men accumulating more wealth, as though the next million would finally make them content. He saw ambitious politicians climbing the ladder, convinced the next position held fulfillment. He witnessed it all, and then he wrote these words that cut to the bone. While we wait for life, life passes. That's not poetic decoration. That's the observation of someone who saw thousands of lives disappear into this waiting. Think about your own life. Are you waiting? Maybe you're waiting for your circumstances to change before you call that old friend. Maybe you're postponing creative work until you have time. Maybe you're deferring moments of real connection because you're busy building the conditions for a life that will supposedly be better tomorrow. This is the waiting Seneca warns against. And it's insidious because it feels responsible. It feels like you're working towards something real. But here's the Stoic truth. The future never quite arrives. There's always another milestone, another threshold, another reason to postpone. The next year will bring new demands. The next achievement will reveal new inadequacies. The waiting never ends unless you stop it. And the only place to stop it is now, in this present moment, in this day that you're living right now. That's where actual life happens, not in the imagined future you keep preparing for. So how do you actually change this? How do you move from wasting time and waiting for life to actively living it? Seneca gives us the antidote. He says, begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. Not tomorrow, not when conditions improve, not when you're finally ready. At once, today, now. This is the practical heart of Stoic time philosophy, and it's a call to a radically different way of relating to your days. Let's unpack this. Begin at once to live. That means right now, today, you choose to actually engage with your life instead of rehearsing for some imagined future performance. It doesn't require you to quit your job or abandon your responsibilities. It means while you're doing those things, you're truly present. You're not just getting through the day so you can get to the weekend. You're not enduring your work so you can retire in 30 years. You're living now. The present moment is where life actually exists. But here's the revolutionary part. Count each separate day as a separate life. This isn't about being dramatic. It's about a mental shift. When you think about it, you get thousands of days across a lifespan. Roughly 27,000 if you live to 80. But most of us think of life as one continuous narrative. We see our years as chapters in one story. The Stoic insight is different. Treat each day as a complete life in itself. This changes everything about how you prioritize. Why? Because if today were your entire life, what would matter? You wouldn't waste it scrolling endlessly. You wouldn't spend it angry at someone you love. You wouldn't defer the conversation you've been meaning to have. You'd read that book. You'd go for the walk. You'd tell someone the truth. You'd create something. You'd simply be more intentional. Not frantically busy, but genuinely awake to what your day contains. This is what the Stoics mean by memento mori, remembering death to inform life. Here's how to actually practice this. Tomorrow morning, or today if you're reading this during the day, consciously decide that this day is a complete life, not a preparation for future days, a complete life in itself. Then notice what shifts. Notice what suddenly feels important and what reveals itself as trivial. Notice how differently you treat a conversation when you know this day is all you have. Notice how much more vividly you experience things when you're not assuming there will be infinite future moments to experience them. The second practice is weekly review. On Sunday evening, or whatever day works, spend 15 minutes reflecting on your week. But don't review it like a project manager. Review it like an elder reflecting on a life. Ask, did I live? Was I present? What did I postpone that I'm genuinely sorry about? What did I do that truly mattered? Which moments will I remember fondly? This isn't about guilt or achievement. It's about calibration. You're training yourself to see your time clearly without the fog of distraction. Finally, make a list of the things you're waiting for. Life to get easier, more money, the right relationship, your kids to grow up, retirement, completion of a project. Write them down. Now here's the hard question. What about today can you do without that condition being met? What conversation could you have today? What joy could you experience today? What meaningful work could you start today? The Stoics aren't saying ignore the future or never plan. They're saying, don't let the future steal the present. You came into this world with no possessions. You'll leave it the same way. Everything you acquire will stay behind. Everything except for the time you actually lived. That's yours. That's real. The Stoics understood this with a clarity we've lost. They saw time not as a resource to optimize, but as the very substance of a life well lived. And they knew that a life well lived isn't measured in achievements or accumulation. It's measured in presence, in intention, in showing up for the moments you're actually given. This philosophy isn't dark or morbid. It's liberating. When you stop waiting for some future version of your life to begin, you become free to live this one. When you treat each day as its own complete life, you wake up. When you stop wasting hours on things that don't matter, you suddenly have time for things that do. The Stoics weren't being pessimistic about life. They were being radically optimistic about what's possible right now. If this resonated with you, if something in these words stirred a recognition that you've been waiting, that you've been wasting time, that you're ready to change, then subscribe for weekly Stoic wisdom that will help you actually live. Because philosophy means nothing if it doesn't transform how you live. And that transformation begins with time, your recognition of its value, and your commitment to spend it on what truly matters. Thank you for these 11 minutes of your life.